Hey everyone, go ahead and open your book to page 175. We are starting a brand new activity. It's activity 12 called Forms of Linear Functions, and we're still going to be talking about slope, which is why we're going from activity 9 to activity 12, because they work well together when taught back to back. So lesson 12.1 is called Slope-Intercept Form, and you might remember this a little bit from middle school. We are going to write the equation of a line in slope-intercept form, and then we're going to use slope-intercept form in order to solve problems. So I am going to skip to where you see this box, partway down the page. Slope-intercept form is y equals mx plus b. Okay, y equals mx plus b. Let me highlight it here for you. M is the variable that we always use for slope, and 0b is our y-intercept. Okay, we learned about y-intercept before Christmas break. It's where your line crosses your y-axis. So looking at question 4 on the bottom of that page, it says identify the slope and your y-intercept of the line described by the equation y equals negative 2x plus 9. So if I look above, my m is the slope and it occurs in front of or before the x. So which number here is before the x? So it's negative 2. So my slope, the m, is negative 2. My y-intercept is 0, comma b. So in this case, it's 0, comma 9. So let's use this equation for question 5 at the top of the next page. We are going to create a table of values, which means we're going to substitute or we're going to plug in x values. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to take these x's and we're going to substitute or plug them in right there for x. Okay, next to this negative 2. So if I write it out, it's going to be negative 2 times whatever x we're plugging in plus 9. Negative 2 times whatever x we're plugging in plus 9. So the first x is negative 2. So what that means is x comes out of our equation, it sits on the bench, and negative 2 is the sub or the replacement. Okay, so you can use your calculator or maybe you can do it in your head. And we're going to do negative 2 times negative 2 plus 9 equals, or enter, and I got 13. And then we're going to do it again with 0. Okay, so we just plugged in negative 2, then we're going to plug in 0, then we're going to plug in 2, and so on. So negative 2 times 0 plus 9. I got 9. So then we're going to do it again. And we're going to keep going till we fill in our whole table. Plug them in, substitute them in. You can do it. Use your calculator. Got 5. Then I got 1 and negative 1. So now what we're going to do is we are going to plot these points on the coordinate grid. So remember, our ordered pairs are x comma y. Okay, here's our x-axis. We have to go in and out of our elevator, left and right, before we can go up and down in our elevator on our y-axis. So we're going to go left to -2, and then we're going to go up to 13. Okay, then we're going to stay at 0, and we're going to go up to 9, right to +2, up to +5, over to +4, up to +1, right to +5, down to -1. Right? Now, I want you to use a straight edge, and you're going to connect these points with a straight line. Number 6, explain how to find the value of the slope from the table, and what is the slope. So we did this on your quiz in activity 9. We found the slope from a table a lot. So how would we find the slope from the table? Well, we would pick 2 points, and we would find the change in y over the change in x. Okay? Which is also called your slope formula. So let's do that. I'm going to use the first 2. These 2 right here. So it would be 9, my second y, minus my first y, which is 13, y2 minus y1, divided by x2, which is 0, minus x1, which is -2. So 9 minus 13 gives me -4. 0 plus 2 is 2. Ooh, this reduces to -2. So my slope from the table is -2. My slope from the table is -2. Question 7, explain how to find the y-intercept from the table. We need to find the value x equals 0 in order to find our x-intercept. In order to find our y-intercept, because our y-intercept occurs when x equals 0. So if I go back up, look at our x column, the first column. Here's where x equals 0, so this would be my y-intercept. What is it? It occurs at 0, 9. So my y-intercept is 0, 9. When x equals 0, that's my y-intercept, and it occurs at 0, 9. How would we find the slope from a graph? Remember, we pick 2 points, and we count rise divided by run. Pick 2 points and count rise over run. So let's do that from our graph. So if I scroll back up here, I'm going to pick this point down to this point, and let's count our rise divided by run. Well, if I'm looking, I know that my graph is going downward, so my slope is going to be negative right off the bat. My line is decreasing, or it's falling from left to right. And I'm going down 1, 2, 3, 4 boxes, or 4 spaces. And I'm running 1, 2. Those are both even, so that reduces to negative 2. So that would be my answer for question 8. My slope from the graph is negative 2, and that matches our answer from question 6. So the table, we had a slope of negative 2. The graph has a slope of negative 2. How would we find the y-intercept from the graph? We would find the point where the line intersects the y-axis. So if we scroll back up to our table, or to our graph, our y-axis is our vertical axis. I can highlight that for you in blue. This is our y-axis right here. Where does our line intersect that or cross that? It occurs right here at this point, and that point is 0, 9. So let's add that to the answer. 0, 9. So notice from the table, our y-intercept in question 7 was 0, 9. From the graph in question 9, our y-intercept is also 0, 9. So again, those match. Number 10, I would like you to pause the video and try this by yourself. What is the slope and what is the y-intercept from this line? You can do it. The slope is negative 4 over 5 because that's the coefficient of x, the number directly in front of x right there. And your y-intercept is your b value that comes at the end. So that would be this negative 10. Question 11, write this equation in slope-intercept form. So I need two things. I need the slope and I need the y-intercept. Well, we need to calculate the slope here. Okay, so remember our slope formula from activity 9 is y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. And we could use any 2 points in this table. So I'm going to use these two right here because I have all positives. So I'm going to write it out as 1 minus 3 over, those are my y values that I'm subtracting together from here to here. Now I'm going to do my x values from here to here. 2 minus 1. So 1 minus 3 is negative 2 divided by 2 take away 1 is 1. And this reduces to just negative 2. So this is my slope, or my m. But what are we missing? Y equals m, which is negative 2, x plus b. We're missing our b value, which is our y-intercept. Remember, when we're looking at a table, it occurs when x equals 0. So notice it's right here. This is my y-intercept. So let's write our equation. Y equals m, which is my slope, and we just calculated that as negative 2, x plus b, which is that plus 5. So there's my equation. Slope-intercept form. All right, you can do question 12. Write the equation in slope-intercept form. You know the slope, or the m, which is 4, and you know the y-intercept, the b. Go ahead and try to write it. Y equals 4x plus 5. Question 13, it says write an equation of the line graphed in the My Notes section. So look to the right-hand side, and you're going to see a graph, and we're going to write this in slope-intercept form. Well, we need two things. We need the slope, and we need the y-intercept. Well, we just talked about in questions 6, 7, 8, and 9 how to find the slope and the y-intercept from a graph. Okay, and we also did that in activity 6 and activity 9. So we're putting all of our prior knowledge together here. So I'm going to pick 2 points on my line. A good intersection point between an x and a y. I see one right here, and I see another point right here. There are multiple points on this line, and remember, the slope between any 2 points on the line is the same as long as we're all reducing or simplifying. So you could pick 2 different points than I did. But let's count the slope. Remember, slope is rise divided by run. And if I'm looking at this graph, think of Mr. Slope Dude. I know that my slope is negative because my line is going down. I'm skiing down the mountain. I'm going down 2 over 1. So down 2 over 1, and that reduces to just -2. And what's my y-intercept here? I'm going to highlight my y-axis for you right here. Where does the line touch or cross that y-axis? At what number? It's this point right here. It's up at 6. So your y-intercept is at 0, 6. So now let's write it. Y equals m, your slope, which is -2, x, don't forget the x, plus b, which is plus 6. So here's our final answer. Good job. All right, we're going to skip over to question 17. I usually do 14 and 15 in groups, but that's not an option this year. So jump to question 17 on page 178. And we are going to take this question and we are going to convert it to slope-intercept form, which is y equals mx plus d. So what needs to be alone, all by itself on the left-hand side? Y is all by itself. So what we need to do here is we need to isolate or solve for y. So I need to get -2y alone first. So let's subtract 3x from both sides. So we get -2y equals, now 16 and -3x are unlike terms. One is just a number and one is a variable. So I cannot put them together. I need to leave them separate. And I need to put my mx term first. So let's write -3x first, then plus 16. Now, is y completely alone yet? No, it has a -2 out in front. So let's get rid of that -2. Currently, it's being multiplied by y. So the opposite is to divide, divide, divide. So y equals, 2 negatives make a positive 3/2 x. 16 divided by -2 is -8. So that would be my final answer. So what's the slope here? Your slope is the coefficient in front of x. So I'm going to highlight it in green. It would be 3/2. 3 divided by 2. What's your y-intercept? Your y-intercept, I'm going to highlight it in blue. It would be -8. Good job. All right, question 18. A flowering plant stands 6.5 inches tall when it's placed under a growing light. Its growth is 0.25 inches per day. And today, the plant is 11.25 inches tall. This reminds me of college when I was getting my biology minor. So question A says to write an equation in slope-intercept form for the height of the plant since it was placed under the growing light. So when we're writing an equation in slope-intercept form, we need two things. We need our m, which is our slope, and we need the b, which is the y-intercept. So the m is our slope, or remember in activity 9, we called it our rate of change. What are we changing by per day? What are we growing by? 0.25 inches. So this is our m, or our slope. So we're going to write y equals 0.25x plus, then our y-intercept, this b value is always like our beginning point or our initial fee, our one-time payment. So how tall is the plant? What is the starting height of the plant when it's placed under the light? 6.25 inches tall. So this is our b value or our y-intercept. So 6.5 would be our b value. And we're running out of time, but we would use this 11.25 inches if we had enough time to answer this question C down here. Okay?